This is Cathy with City Farmhouse Studio. Thanks for joining in, hearing kind of what all has been going on this past week. Since the beginning of school, it has, so in September for us here in Michigan, it has been a whirlwind. Um, Time is going fast. It's already October, and I just can't believe it. So, I'm launching a new pattern. It's the kids' version of the Dream of a Cardigan pattern. It's a knit and also a machine knit instruction pattern. Um, when I made the adult one, Red really liked it. She tried it on after I finished it. She's like, "Can I have it? Can I have it?" And of course, it was big on her, but she just looked so cute on it in it. And I really like the cardigan. Obviously, I made it for myself, but made her one, sized down the pattern to fit kids. And so that's coming out, and she just looks so cute in it, and she's been wearing it all the time, which whenever you spend that much time making a pattern and making it, I did hand knit this one, which surprisingly took me less time than I thought. Um, Worked up pretty quick, and every time I was working on it, she kept saying, "Are you done? Is it done? Is it done? Is it almost done?" Tell her what I was working on. What do you have next? So she was so excited to finally have it done, finally have cooler weather to wear it. And then, of course, it's supposed to be up in the 80s again today. So she's not wearing it today, but it'll cool off again this weekend. So that pattern's coming out, or it actually already is out. So that's been busy getting that tied together. I'm actually working on a new crochet top here, not the swatch from what I was working on before. I have so many projects going on. Isn't that how us crocheters and knitters do? We have all these works in progress, and I don't know about you, but I get something in my mind and I want to get it down and kind of going before I forget about it. So the one I was working on last week, that's still coming. That'll come. Just was looking at Pinterest for ideas of what kind of is the new fashion trends for this winter and what's been coming out on the runways, and I just have too many ideas. Too many. Ooh, I like that. Oh, I like that idea. And is it a sweater? Is it another cardigan? Is it more of a jacket? Simple in texture, a little more detailed. So by the looks of it, it may turn into a couple different patterns here this winter. So got several ideas, and now I just got to figure out which yarn to make, and whether it's knit or crochet, what to make of what. So it's kind of exciting and fun just playing around, seeing what different yarns make up and different textures of stitch patterns. So at least I think it's fun. So, and then Blondie came home from school. Now she started a new school this year. Um, she is in an accelerated program, so she's one of the smart kids apparently. Um, and this new school kind of does things a little bit different than her old school. They're um, a little more relaxed on some of the rules because the kids in general just follow the boundaries a little bit more and abide by those set in place. So in the winter, when they get to wear snow boots outside, instead of having to change into tennis shoes whenever they come into class, they get to change into slippers. So it's a fun little cozy and relaxed little thing that make it a little more home-like and comfortable, and just a fun way for the kids to feel comfortable in a classroom. But the teacher wants them to wear they can wear slippers, but it needs to have a hard sole on the bottom in case they step on something. So last year I made both the girls slippers. You just knit a square or crochet. I crocheted them. and then you put 3, double the length over 3 for the toe, and then you just seam the one end up on the back. And it sounds confusing, and it is confusing until you see it and you're like, oh, I get it. So that both girls really like those for wearing around here in the winter. And Francis like, can you make me some of those, but with the hard sole bottom, like the flip-flop ones I've done. Well, the flip-flop ones are a pain to do because you got to punch in all the holes to go around the base. If you don't know what the flip-flop ones are, you get a pair of flip-flops and you cut off the straps that go over the top of your foot, so you just have the sole. Well, then around the edge of the sole, you poke holes evenly incremented all the way around both shoes, and that is what you start crocheting into, and then you build your shoe up from that. So they're great shoes. I love wearing them, but for a kid's shoe that's going to be outgrown, to sit there and poke all these holes, just it's something you want to use for a while before they outgrow it in a season. So I've been thinking of what kind of pattern for her, and as I'm thinking of it for her, well, I kind of want a pair. So that's in the works. We got the yarn. We went to Joann's, and she wanted the same yarn that she had from before, which was a Bernat faux fur, and Joann's had it online. However, the store we went to did not have any in stock. So I'm finding that with many of the craft stores, Joann's and Michael's specific, that different stores have different yarn amounts, a yarn selection of in the store, but also what category of yarn that they sell. Joann's has gotten by us, the one closest, is more the worsted and even the big thick craft yarn, although they didn't have this Bernat. But then you go a few miles further the other direction, and they have a lot more of the category 3, more the DK, even some not much lace weight or fingering, but and then it's a bigger selection too. So they have probably like 3 more aisles of yarn to choose from. So there you get more colorways and more options to look at. So, but it's vice versa with the Michaels, the one that way, which had the good Joann's, in my opinion. Their yarn selection is nothing, but the one down here is really good. So I don't know. I don't know how they choose it, what to carry. So if you like Joann's or Michael's, try the other one and try a different one in a different city even, and let me know what you think of them. If you have the same experience with the different Michaels and Joann's. We only have one Hobby Lobby nearby, so I don't have another one to compare it with. But even Walmart and our local Walmart version, Myers, carries yarn, and they tend to be cheaper than Joann's and Michael's. But I'm curious what their selection is from colorway and variety. They tend not to have as big of a selection, but if they have what you want, save a few dollars each skein. So those are the projects I'm working on. This one is actually going to be a crochet, kind of similar to this Summer Breeze top that I'm wearing. It's a knit pattern, so I'm doing a crochet one, but modifying it to be a little bit closer in the neck, and then also long sleeves. So not quite the same, but it's starting to get fun now whenever, just like looking in your closet and seeing what you always wear. I've worn this top all summer long. And then what can I get to make it in a different season or a different colorway, or to wear to a different occasion. I have a bright and cheerful one, and maybe I need a darker one or casual one. Do it in a different yarn and make it more dressy. So, and then also I was talking in the previous episode about project bags and what I use and how many, and I think I need another one for knitting because my knitting needles don't really fit too well in the ones I have. So was flipping through, it was either TikTok or Instagram, I can't remember, but saw these really cute ones that somebody had crocheted, and they even have a little flap where the yarn goes through so you can pull it out, and then it keeps your ball or skein all tucked away, tucked inside, but easy to get the yarn out. And then when you're done, you just put the project in the top, so you just have a little tail that goes to the bottom. And it had a flap that covered it, and it's like, oh, that's so cute and functional. And so now I got ideas that I need to make a project bag. But with knitting needles, if it's crocheted or knit, won't the knitting needles poke out? Do you need to get those tips that you put on the end? Do those work and stay on? Or do I just look for a fabric liner? So I don't know. All these different ideas, options. We'll see what comes of it. So I mentioned we've been busy since school started because soccer started. Blondie's in soccer. So she's 2 times a week practice, and then usually it's 1 game a week end. And they're usually not that far away. But this past weekend, we had 2 games. So that was, it was hot. So that was tiring. And then also they've moved up 2 divisions this year. They did it really great in a tournament and got bumped up 2 brackets, which is fantastic. But now they're playing with a little different teams, different aggressiveness of teams than what they're used to. So they've been losing all their games. So the girls are kind of getting a little disheartened, and they don't play quite as aggressive as what these other girls are playing. Well, this weekend, I think frustrations and emotions, they were hot, they were tired, it was the second game. And these girls were just flipping them and tripping them. And one girl got a yellow card, which was the first yellow card we've seen. She actually kicked the back of the legs of one of our players after the ball had left, which apparently is a very big no-no, obviously. But the girls are just getting frustrated, and these teams are being rough, and so I think some of the girls are starting to find out ways to retaliate and build up their aggressiveness. So we'll see how much of it is they're actually able to do in games and how much the refs were just letting go. I've never played soccer, so I don't know what they can and can't do, and what's, I know it's a physical sport. They do push into each other, but when can they push in? What can they push in with, how much of the shoulder, when, if you have the ball, if you receive the ball, if you kick the ball, if you didn't, and just, there's a lot, it seems to be, of circumstance where the ball is and what the players are doing, what's allowed and what's not allowed. So it should be fun to see the girls learn all of these little rules and specifics of play. But they've really stepped up already, and we have a younger team as well, and some some of them are playing up in age, so it goes by birth year. So it's supposed to be the same birth year as Blondie, and there are quite a few girls a year below playing up. Well, I found out that not only is it 1 year, but the coach's niece is playing. And he started this team specifically for his daughter, the niece, and friends of theirs to play together and develop. So there's all right for her to be on it, but she's playing up 2 years. So she is 2 grades below Blondie. I thought she was just one. But my oh my, the past couple of games, she's starting to be more one of the aggressive ones and really stepping up. So they're really fun to watch. I asked Blondie what her favorite thing was from one of the games, and she's like, I almost scored a goal and I got to trip a girl. Okay. Not what I was expecting, but they're, I guess, learning. And I guess her being the one usually being tripped, for her to, I guess, feel that she won that a battle whenever the defense and offense are going after the ball, that for once it was not her falling over. So we have soccer. And then Red started basketball last night. And she is now, where last year she was one of the older ones of the bracket. And this year she's moved up where she's one of the youngest ones. So she, I think, kind of likes that, so that she can learn from them and get help from them and play typically with girls that are better than her, so that she's hoping she wins games. So far, the team she's been put on, most of them are luck of the draw. You just, they put them by age and by experience and then by height, and kind of divvy them out across the teams. And just however it's gone, her teams have not done the best. So this year she went to her first practice last night. She loves her coach and is excited for her teammates, and just came home sweaty and beet red and exhausted. So we think, we haven't gotten a list yet, but from the boys team, a friend of ours has a son on it, their games start not this weekend, the next weekend. So we're anticipating a game next weekend. So that's when we'll see how all of this shakes out and see how games go, because practice is one thing, but whenever they get on the floor against other girls and trying to get layups and shots in, catch the rebound, anything goes. So that's going on. And then Blondie's also, with this new school, they have a robotics class, or a team. So she's in that. And so she wants to be an astronaut when she grows up. So we're focusing, okay, whatever can help you, go to that. We're in support. And she's always been the mindset for engineering and programming and building, creating in that sort of way has always been one of her strengths and aptitudes. So we thought, okay, robotics is a good fit. We'll go for that. Well, turned out from the previous year, all the kids that were on robotics, I guess, wanted to be in robotics again. So the teams filled up, and we were too far down, I guess, by the time we had open house to put our name on the list. So there wasn't a team available, but the lady coordinating it all was willing to start another team, but we needed some coaches. Well, Brandon, my husband, Blondie's dad, said he would coach, but he has no robotics experience, no engineering experience, no coding experience. But if it's just an adult, the second adult to be in the room for the legal side of it, then he's willing to be there and he'll help out how he can. But he needs someone basically to who knows what's to do with this robotic stuff. Which this course that they do, they have a couple months to put together a Lego based robot that will go along. It's about a table width, a big table, and go to these little stations and trigger a lever to do some action, bring something up or push something back, and all these different things. So the kids have to not only program through the computer these robots, which is beyond me, even that, but also build onto the robot arms and contraptions that then gears will activate and move based on what they program to complete the task that they need to do. So it's very entertaining and interesting to watch, and these kids are learning so much. It's a great program. So anyway, Brandon got signed on to be a coach, a co-coach, and he got it put on a team. Well, he goes in, and the lead coach is traveling for work a lot, so he pretty much is doing most of the leading. So he's caught up, he's catching up and figuring things out, and these kids are so smart and figuring out what they need to do, and it's been fun to watch Blondie in it and what all she's learned, and then also what Brandon has learned and developed. So, but while they're at robotics, Red and I have time together. So she, a couple years back, got a sewing machine from her aunt and has always wanted to sew. I want to sew pillows and purses and clothes and this and that. Well, she didn't want to look at a pattern. She just wanted to make it. So I was like, and of course I couldn't help her too much. She wanted to do it on her own. So eventually that all fizzled out because she didn't know what she was doing and the sizes were wrong and things weren't looking as nice as she was hoping for it. And so I talked to her. I was like, how about we start a sewing club while they're at robotics? And we'll go and we'll pick out a pattern that you want to make, and we'll go and let you pick out the fabric, and we'll get you sewing on a big machine and not just this little, it's a toy, but it functions and it does a really good job, but it's not the smoothest. It's loud, and it's kind of one of those where you push the button and it takes off and it scares her. And so it works, but it's not the funnest to use, most fun to use. So she and I we've gotten the patterns. She's picked out pajama pants and pajama shorts. And we got material. So she picked out some flannel, and then for the pants, and then a lighter weight, like athletic type for the shorts. And last week we cut out the pants, since cooler weather coming up. So she got it all cut out and laying out the patterns and on the fabric, and how all the symbols, and even just looking at the instructions. Here's your yardage, and here's how all the different pieces that you need and how they have them set out, that you need to copy it, and you need to pay attention to. We talked about nap and the direction of the nap. Oh, that's Oreo that just left. He'll probably come back around and attack my yarn. He's staring at me. So anyway, Red's been learning already a lot about patterns. So tonight we'll sew the pants together, start sewing that, and see how that goes. So there's our neighbor who also has joined the sewing club, and she's 20, and she never learned, and she kept going to all these thrift stores and finding all these vintage patterns that she loves. So she got vintage fabric and a vintage pattern, and she cut out last week a floral skirt pattern from a 70s pattern. So we'll start sewing that tonight. So I do have 2 sewing machines. One is mine that I got for my high school graduation gift from my parents. And then I also have my grandma's old Singer. So, and I like them both. But the Singer one that from my grandma has a cabinet it's in, and there's a lever on the side that you press, and that's what triggers the foot pedal that's mounted inside to control the speed. Well, with Red being so little and short, there's no way she could manage that knee action. So she'll be at the table with my little, I think it's a white sewing machine. It's white, brand white. And we'll learn on that. And then I'll put Katie on the neighbor on the other one. So we'll see how that all goes. And then at some point, Red wants to be Carmen Sandiego for Halloween. And that is, it's from a TV show back in the 80s that I grew up with. And it was a game show type thing, and there were kid contestants, and they listed out geographical or historical facts about certain regions, and you had to guess where in the world Carmen Sandiego is, and she'd be there to capture robbers and thieves in the action and for good. So that was the premise of the game show, as much as I can remember from way back. Well, recently on Netflix, there's been a cartoon version, an animated series based off of it. So there's a character, Carmen Sandiego, and they're still Acme with the chief, and the villains have their same name, and I'm blanking on the name of the villains. But it's a really good series. There's 2 seasons so far, and both of them have been really good. And it's one of those shows that's kids appropriate, and they learn a little bit about different regions of the world as well. But it's also entertaining with the character developments and the plot lines that are going along as well for adults to watch. So we've watched it all as a family as well. Well, Carmen Sandiego has a similar color of hair as Red, and she wears this red, kind of a black leotard and then or suit, and then a red overcoat and a red hat. So finding a child-sized version of a red coat and a red hat. So I need to make her. We got the pattern, we got the fabric. So I need to at some point sew that up. I guess I don't know if it'll be during sewing club or not. But and then I still got to figure out this red hat. So it's, I don't know what type of hat they are. It's the big wide brimmed ones, so not a cowboy hat, but kind of that size, but more cityfied. So gotta think on that. So sounds like a lot of projects that are mulling over in my mind. Project bags and sweaters and shoes, coats and hats. So Oreos left. So another fun thing going on this weekend with being in Michigan are the cider mills at the apple orchards, which I had no idea about until I moved up to Michigan. So apple orchards are big around here, and you go and you can pick apples yourself, and usually they'll have hay rides and a corn maze. And the one we're going to go to also has a bonfire, and you can get a little s'more kit and make s'mores. So the girls are super excited about that. But then they also have apple cider and cider mill donuts, which again, until I came up here, I always thought of cider as a hot, spiced apple cider, apple juice with all the warm seasoning spices like cinnamon and I don't know, clove, and I'm not sure what else. But it was always like a hot tea or hot chocolate type category of a drink. And donuts are always yeast donuts, and light and fluffy and sweet and delicious. That's where I'm from the South, what I'm used to. Well, in college, one fall day, they say, as a student appreciation, there's cider and donuts available free for the kid, at this location. So I go and it's been cold. I'm like, oh, hot cider. It sounds so good. It'll taste so good. And all these light, fluffy donuts. Well, you get there, and cider up here is a jug of fresh pressed apple juice. So you get cold apple juice, and then cider mill donuts are cake donuts, which are basically a cake or a muffin type batter made in the shape of donuts that are deep fried. And then some have sugar and some are sprinkled with sugar and some are with sugar and cinnamon or plain. So I go and then get this cold apple juice in this cakey, dry donut thing. I'm like, what is this? Well, over the years since I've been here, I've come to associate the cider mill cider and cider mill donuts with apple orchards in the time of the year. Still not as good as the warm cider and the yeast donuts from the South, but it's always fun to get them while you're there at the cider mill. So we're doing that, kind of kick off our fall season, get into the feel of it. It's supposed to be 85 today, so hopefully it cools off by then, so it actually feel like fall. And then beyond games, I think we only have one soccer game this weekend. So besides that, we might watch a Harry Potter. For the past couple years, we've let the girls watch the first 3 Harry Potters. So the Sorcerer's Stone, let's think, the Chamber of Secrets, and then the Prisoner of Azkaban. And they've watched bits and pieces of the 4th one, which is the Goblet of Fire, but it gets pretty dark and it's a little more gruesome, and just Red always would get nightmares with anything, so we just not until you can manage. So we explained to her, and she's watched some other TV series with us that she's starting to manage a little more mature scenes in that sense. And we explained it's nothing different of a topic than what you've seen in Scooby-Doo. It's just it's realistic, but half of it's been animated to look realistic, or makeup. So it's the same stuff, just with people acting it, but it's still just as pretend. You ready to watch it? Yeah, I can do it. So we watched it, and she was fine during the movie. She loved it. Blondie was unfazed by it whatsoever. Thinks she can rationalize things different, where Red is more emotional about it. So we watched it and was like, okay, the test is whether she wakes up or can go to sleep or is going to have nightmares or sees things in the dark or, didn't sleep well. Just all the typical things after she'd watched something scary, what she'd come up with. But she woke up the next morning She went to sleep fine. She woke up fine, rested, not fazed by it. So we may have to watch the next ones. I don't know. 7 and 8, the Deathly Hallows, might be a couple years off still, but I think we're good enough to get the next couple. So we may watch a Harry Potter. So, and of course, while we watch, it's time for me to crochet. So, well, that's about it for me. Hope everyone's doing well. And until next time, talk to you later.